We will, actually, we're going to the public hearing. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, boy.
Do this and then another to go into the public hearing. You can just go right in the public hearing.
It is what it is.
Twice.
Did I just do it?
With another roll.
I don't know. All right. Well, Clerk Spencer, if you call the roll, please.
Pezza. Here. Gutenkopf. Here. Leader.
Here.
Dunn. Is absent. Bram.
Here.
Polumsky. Here. York.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
And Mulliner. Here. 13 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Trying to work out a few of the logistics here because we're going to go into a public hearing that's scheduled for this evening concerning the city's proposed 2013 budget. And I am going to call that hearing to order. I think are we supposed to have another roll call on the public hearing? So I'm going to ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll again. This is the roll call for aldermen participating in the public hearing.
Pezza.
Here.
Gutenkopf.
Here.
Leader.
Here.
Dunn, absent. Bram.
Here.
Polumsky.
Here.
York.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Levin.
Here?
Kennedy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
13 present, 1 absent.
All right, we have a quorum also for the public hearing. And again, the purpose of this public hearing is to take public comment on the proposed 2013 budget. I would ask the clerk to read any written comments that may have been submitted into the record.
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any written comments.
All right. And is there a sign-up sheet for those who would like to speak at the public hearing?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one person that signed in to speak at this public hearing, and that's Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline.
All right, if anyone else wants to speak, I'll give you an opportunity at the end of Ms. Brenner's comments.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline. I guess somebody has to do it. Might as well be one of the usual suspects. So I only want to comment about a couple of items on the budget. One is the Illinois Prairie Path Underpass at York Street project, which is listed as a capital expenditure. There was an application submitted on behalf of the city in August in 2012. I'm just going to read parts of that to kind of organize the comments I want to make. It says, under the project description, that the city would like to construct a grade separation at the existing Illinois Prairie Path in York Street. I've never heard the city discuss this, so I'm kind of curious how it is that the city is being represented as wanting to do this project. I've been coming to city council for over 3 years, and I've missed, I think, 2 council meetings in that time. I think I would have heard about it if it had been discussed prior to the start of this budget cycle, and that's the first I heard of it. So I'm kind of wondering how we got to the point in August 2012 to submit this application saying the city would like to do this. Next thing is that the underpass is constructed to accommodate 1,200 daily trail users and nearly 20,000 daily motorists. That sounds like an awful lot of traffic. Maybe that is how much traffic there is. I'm really not sure. The substantiating documentation that was submitted along with the application is a letter from the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning that makes a projection of 20,000 daily traffic in the year 2040. I'm not sure why that projection was solicited or what the underlying assumptions were that lead to that projection or what, but it seems like a number pulled out of a hat for now. But it makes it sound impressive, the amount of traffic that's going there for sure. Let's see. It talks about 6 crossing-related accidents having occurred at this location over a 3.5-year period, and that data is provided. I see there were 3 property damage incidents and 3 injuries, and no fatalities. That's a positive thing. I'm not sure if that's how that relates to other busy intersections in terms of injuries, and it's unfortunate to have even 1 injury or damage to property and so forth, but these things do happen just by the process of living, so I'm not sure that a $3 million, whatever the total number of millions was, $3 million project is warranted to minimize or to avoid these 3 accidents, and there's no guarantee that other accidents wouldn't occur different from the ones that did. Lost my spot. Lastly, and this, I'm skipping some of the part about the accident descriptions and how rear-end collisions were caused by stopping, which rear-end collisions can happen other ways too. But lastly, this project involves multiple agency cooperation and is fully supported by the county, park district, and community, and you're supposed to see Exhibit G for a support letter. Exhibit G is here somewhere. Oh, yeah. Exhibit D does come from the county, where it talks about the county looks forward to working with the city on this important project. Getting a little ahead of myself. So I guess the county does support it at some level based on the Director of Transportation and Operations. The Park District, they've never formally heard about this project. I talked to somebody on the Park District Board just to verify what their understanding was, and it's never been on their agenda. So I'm not sure how we can say that the Park District supports it. And as far as community support, it's never been brought to the community's attention until this budget cycle, so I don't know how we can say that we have community support as well. In a piece of an application for a TCM project, it was a transportation project, under the section Other Participating Agencies, if located in multiple jurisdictions or if other agencies such as park or school district are sharing project costs, the city lists that the Elmhurst Park District will assist with maintenance. Again, the Elmhurst Park District has never had this on their agenda, so how can we represent that they are going to assist with maintenance? And I think the Park District is responsible for maintaining green space, and I'm not sure how this project is going to affect green space in that area. It seems like you might end up digging up part of a park that would be part of the Park District's purview to maintain. It also says in this section that DuPage County supports the project and will donate the right-of-way, which is supposed to be in Exhibit G, which I referenced Exhibit G before, and I don't see anything in that letter besides the county supports the project. It doesn't say anything about donating the right-of-way. So I'm not sure how come the city's representing that in this application as well. It talks in here about making an improved bicycle transportation path to the rail metro station in downtown Elmhurst, and it provides a bicycle map. The Elmhurst bicycle map. All those blue lines on the bicycle map are bike-suitable streets. So when I look at this, I don't bike. I really physically can't do it, so I can't relate to bicyclists in that manner. But when I look on this map, I see blue lines going up and down in a network where there's plenty of ways, it seems like, for bicyclists to get to the train station. So again, I'm not sure if a $3 million project is warranted just for that, to make a bike pathway to the train station. On the capital expenditure budget sheet that goes with the city paperwork, it classifies the project in classification 4, which is improve the safety of citizens and our employees. So we've got 3 accidents. We're going to improve the safety of a small number of people. I guess improving safety is good, but again, it's a very small number of people. And it says priority A, which is essential and immediate need. I think that's probably a little overblown. There needs to be a discussion, it seems to me, about other alternative ways to make pedestrian traffic or pedestrians crossing this roadway a little bit safer. But to say an immediate need is to dig a tunnel under there for $3 million seems a little overblown. I think that this project is kind of emblematic of what I am starting to realize is kind of a poor decision-making process in the city, where these things kind of pop up into the public view after a lot of things have happened at invisible levels, at least invisible to the public. This is not the only project like that, but this is certainly one of them. So I think this project needs to be removed from the budget altogether this year. I don't think it should stay as later on, leave it 5 years from now, 3 years from now, however many years from now, because what's going to happen next year at this time, we're going to have this on the books, and it's not going to be recognized, or it's not going to get discussed, that we haven't really vetted the project yet. Whether we should do this hasn't ever been vetted, and until that happens, this should not be in the budget. So I would like to see the council remove this completely from the budget until such time as it's vetted and approved by council for its merits, and then you can worry about how to pull it off financially and logistically. The other thing I wanted to comment on is the Got It marketing campaign that's in the budget. I talked about that in public comment a few times ago also. I just wonder, is there an endpoint for that? This is a city marketing campaign being carried out by the Chamber of Commerce. There's no metrics for measuring how well it's performing, or if it's performing, or what it's doing, and I heard the conversation about that. It's very difficult to measure. It might be even too costly to measure, I don't know. But I'd like to know what the endpoint is. How do you decide when this campaign is done? Or is it something that's just going to be carried on for, ad infinitum, basically? That's my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brenner. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing on our 2013 budget that did not have a chance to sign in? All right, there being no one, I would at this time ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Alderman York, seconded by Alderman Wagner. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The hearing is adjourned. Thank you. We'll move on to item 3 on our agenda, and this is a Cool Cities Award and presentation. Alderman Plumsky, would you like to do an introduction?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today we have a guest from the regional group of Cool Cities Coalition, Lonnie Morris, and I also see some other representatives from Cool Cities, Sue Williams, Lisa Gerhold-Dirks, Barbara Lonergan, Tamara Hughes, Bob Hull, Jan Happel. I didn't know anyone was coming. I hope I'm getting these right. Am I missing anybody? Mark, I don't know if I know your last name. What is your last name, please? Mark Stefano. Thank you and welcome. We have a presentation here tonight, and can Lonnie, would you like to come forward to the podium, please? And would other people like to come up and join? Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen. My name is Lonnie Morris, and I am with the Illinois Cool Cities Initiative. And I believe the last time I was in your chambers is when the Aldermen and Mayor passed a resolution in support of Cool Cities. So it is my pleasure to return here this evening to present a 2012 Cool Cities Achievement Award. When the mayor and aldermen signed on to Cool Cities several years ago, I don't think there was a clear vision on how the greenhouse gas reductions would be achieved. But with the help of the Cool Cities Coalition, bringing together organizations and businesses and other public entities, the city of Elmhurst was not alone in looking for those solutions, those reduction initiatives that have made Elmhurst a very cool city. And several amazing things have happened. The Cool Cities Coalition right now is bringing together a report in one place summarizing the achievements of many sectors throughout Elmhurst. I was reading about Elmhurst College, which has a LEED building, is doing composting, has student challenges to see how much electricity can be saved. You have in your midst, in Elmhurst, one of the strongest, most articulate bike advocates that I've encountered. And through his work and the Bicycle Task Force, Elmhurst is becoming a friendly city for not only people who are riding their bikes, but pedestrians or alternative transportation. You've done energy audits, you've upgraded lighting, and perhaps the one thing that tipped the balance was when you went out for electricity aggregation this year, you bought a significant amount of renewable energy, significant enough to reduce the carbon footprint of the entire community of Elmhurst by more than 7% below the 1990 levels, which was the benchmark that we were using to measure progress. So it is my pleasure to present.
I take credit for this.
Very good, very good. So this award is for Elmhurst and for all of the people who have made this happen.
On behalf of the city, thank you, and Director Mike Hughes from Public Works has a few comments from the administration side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council, and thank you, Lonnie and the Cool Cities people. I'm really glad I've got an opportunity to kind of, this Cool Cities has encouraged us to sort of highlight and blow our own horn a little bit, so I'm excited to do this because it's not something we've really done in the past. So I'm just going to run through some of the highlights, and it's just going to be a small portion of what's actually gone on, but I just thought I tried to address a few of them. So, as the City Council is aware, all city departments seek out and implement sustainable strategies, and whenever possible and practical. The Public Works Department is the largest consumer of energy within the city, and the Water Production and Water Reclamation Division is the largest consumer in Public Works. As projects and equipment purchases are planned, a green alternative is always examined. Sometimes green is accomplished in a somewhat automatic way as equipment that's 20 to 30 years old is replaced with new state-of-the-art, much more energy-efficient equipment. But a lot of the times, the new equipment is truly cutting-edge sustainable technology. One example would be the new boiler and generator at the wastewater treatment plant. Both of these pieces of equipment were installed as part of the new digester project. And both of the pieces of equipment are what's called dual fuel, meaning they can burn both methane and natural gas. The best part about this technology is that it has multiple positive aspects. The boiler is able to consume less natural gas, which is a positive, and it's burning methane, which is a byproduct of the digester process. The generator benefits are really threefold because it's not burning natural gas, it's able to burn off the methane, and it's producing electricity, so we're reducing our reliance on the grid. But as I mentioned earlier, there are numerous ways the city pursues green activities, and they vary in size from the boiler and generator project that I just talked about to things like installing bike route and share the road signs on 20 miles of roadway in town. These signs were installed to encourage the use of the roadway system by bikes and encourage drivers to be alert that Elmhurst is heavily populated with bike enthusiasts. The city also works with the Bike Task Force, the City Center, and other organizations to promote a bike-friendly city. Some other areas of note where the city is working to reduce its carbon footprint and promote sustainability are things such as the city's continued use of biodiesel to run its large truck fleet. Over the past several years, the city has upgraded its heavy vehicle fleet so that we're now able to utilize the maximum biological component of 20% that's available in biodiesel. In 2012 alone, the use of biodiesel resulted in the reduction of over 230,000 pounds of emissions. Staying on the clean air tact, the city planted an average of 420 trees over the past decade or so. Planting trees obviously has numerous positive environmental impacts, from cooling the air to water sequestration to improving air quality. And for the past 2 years, the city has cooperated with the Elmhurst Park District and Scarce to run a holiday lights recycling program. This year alone, we took in 514 pounds of old holiday lights, so those would have been headed to the landfill. And the city engineering staff continues to implement and enforce the DuPage County Stormwater Management Ordinance and the best management practices that are contained within it. City staff works with developers to ensure that they're incorporating engineering design elements that result in the most beneficial product for the developer, but also for the environment. In 2012, the fire department, working with Public Works, was able to obtain a grant, install more energy-efficient lighting at Fire Station 1. In addition, the fire department has recently purchased a new hybrid vehicle. The police department has also increased their energy efficiency in its fleet through the purchase of numerous E85 flex fuel vehicles. Also, the police department has been a supporter of the Bike Task Force and incorporates officers on bicycles as part of their patrol fleet. So the city always has and always will seek out green alternatives whenever possible. And as technology advances in this field, I think there's going to be more and more of those possibilities available. So thank you very much, and thank you to Cool Cities for the award.
Thank you. We'll place that right here. Did any of the aldermen have commentary on this? Alderman Palumski?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank city staff, present and past, for their efforts and the increasingly measurable efforts as they implement sustainable practices. Because we haven't discussed some of these topics in recent meetings, I'm afraid some may have gone unnoticed. So I think staff need to be commended on their efforts and recognized. So I want to suggest that we schedule regular annual updates so we have an idea of what's going on and we can recognize what they're working on. Additionally, I'd like to request that we review and discuss new goals and that we develop an updated plan for their implementation. And we could ask for the council's commitment to that. So I'd like to ask that that could be sent to committee for review, please.
Have we had a referral on that yet? Are you?
Not formally, I'm just asking now, please.
I think it would be appropriate to make a referral, and we can get it sent off to the appropriate committee.
Okay, I'd like to refer that. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Anyone else? Okay, very good. Thank you, Cool Cities, and we'll move on to receipt of written communications and petitions from the public. If anyone has such communication, please rise and deliver it to Clerk Spencer here to my right.
Believe me, I get it.
No.
This isn't a one-up speech.
Thank you, and we will move on to public forum. Clerk Spencer, has anyone signed in this evening to speak at public forum?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have a few. Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
My name is Claude Bogach, 566 West Gladys. I had the opportunity to listen to the tapes. They're interesting. Not quite the way Levin described them, but rather interesting. See, the council in executive session authorized the city to discuss a 6-story parking garage. They also estimated it costs $2.6 million more to do it, but they also talked about giving it away for $1.6 million. And that was in September. Come to quite a few meetings. There was talk of a parking garage some time ago. 4-story, nothing about 6, not at the full council, and not about throwing away $1 million. See? So I'm glad the tapes came out. I really am. Because the drawings for this so-called 6-story parking garage show up in the zoning department. So the city was already talking about the 6-story. Didn't talk to the public about it, didn't talk to it as a body as a whole, and authorized the management of this town to start talking to architects and to whoever happens to own that land. So I'm grateful they were released. We'll leave it there, because I've been to zoning. You should have been at the last meeting. If that's government at its best, it's pathetic. But I want to bring up something else. Whole new subject. I would like to ask the people of Elmhurst that listen to this to look at the back of their water bill. The city sells water to the public by the cubic meter. And if they look at it, the minimum is 3 cubic meters. It averages out to $1.90. But there's a little interesting thing when you ask a question in this town. The school, I pay $1.90. The school pays $2.84 for the same cubic meter of water. The Park District pays $2.84 for the same cubic meter of water. I'm assured the library does. Now they're paying $1 more per cubic meter. They don't pay for it. I do. But I never hear this from the Finance Committee. I hear about a percentage raise.
Your 3 minutes are up. Please conclude
Yeah, I
your
know.
remarks.
So I want everybody, and the city buys water by 1,000 gallons and sells it by the cubic meter. 3 cubic meters is not 1,000 gallons.
John Roboletti, 625 West Gladys.
John Roboletti, 625 West Gladys. I'd like to bring this to the attention of Alderman Kennedy. I would like to know why the guy that came over my house today and told me about the new buckets they're giving us, like for recycling. He told me I could use my old one until we get the other one for the garbage, and that probably won't be till the end of April or the beginning of May. So I would like to have somebody check into that. And why should I put 1 pound of recyclables? Does anybody know how much those cans weigh? And in the wintertime, do you think the seniors, if there's 5 inches of snow on the ground, can wheel those things? They ought to have it for the seniors that they can use a 33-gallon and the little recycling cans we got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roboletti.
Judy Fishin, 320 North York.
Judy Fusion, 320 North York. I'm also the owner of Al's Hobby Shop at 121 Addison in Elmhurst for 66 years. I didn't own it for 66 years, but my husband and his father before us did. I just want to mention that I'm not left over from St. Patrick's Day, but I'm going to be leaving here and going to York High School's hockey JV team is in the semifinals, so kind of keep that in your mind. I just want to thank you for listening to me. And with the help of quite a few people, we were able to turn in over 17 pages of petitions, and there's more coming, opposing the Addison Street 6-story building. I just want to read to you just briefly what it says. Petition opposing Addison Street 6-story retail office public parking structure. We, the undersigned, are opposed to the Elmhurst City Council approving a 6-story building that includes first floor retail, second and third floor office space, fourth, fifth, and sixth floor public parking. While downtown Elmhurst may need more parking, this project is not the best fit for our community due to being a 6-story building. We ask the City Council to approve the originally intended 4-story building, first floor retail, second through fourth floor parking. Most everyone that we spoke to, at least that I spoke to, approved of this, and they really thought the city could use it and we could use more parking. But they didn't want any more city funds spent on it. And another thing people said to me, why is the city of Elmhurst in the real estate business? I said, well, I can't answer anything like that. You'd have to come to a meeting and ask that question yourself. While having a business in downtown Elmhurst, always in downtown Elmhurst for 66 years, I would like to know why, with the city's grant to the Chamber of Commerce for $60,000, I didn't know what that was for. Was it for ads, etc., whatever? We never saw one thing or talked to one person about it. We didn't even get a little teeny tiny sticker that says got it. So I just didn't know what $60,000 bought. They also asked me, what does warm and fuzzy is the new black mean on all these big posters that they're having? No one noticed that the little teeny tiny lettering underneath on the bottom might have said City Center or Downtown Elmhurst. So if they really need any help, I would be glad to try to provide some kind of advertising ideas that could help the downtown. So we didn't know what that money was spent on. I want to thank you for your time, and I just have one last thing to say. Please, no more pork.
Thank you.
Diana Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
Diana Pagach, 566 West Gladys in Elmhurst. A few years ago, the citizens of Elmhurst heard from the council you had to raise taxes because the city was broke. Since then, you have spent and wasted money. You have no regards for the senior citizens or any citizen of Elmhurst. The more money you get, the more you spend. Several members of the council do not follow the rules, and now you want to sneak in a 6-story parking garage, which was supposed to be a 4-story for parking for the city, for the citizens of Elmhurst, and give away $1 million of taxpayers' money in order to build this 6-story garage. As one alderman said, what's $1 million? I hope you'll reconsider this proposal for the 6 stories and do the right thing for a change for the taxpayers of Elmhurst. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline. So I listened to the recordings from the 2 September 2012 executive session meetings, and I made written transcripts of both of them too, which I have submitted to the city clerk. If any elected officials or staff feel that there are inaccuracies in there, please let me know, and I'll add a notation to that effect. I learned some interesting things that filled in some gaps about how the Addison project has transpired, although many new questions also arose, the answers to which might be found in the records of other executive session meetings, such as that of March 2012, which was referenced in the September 10th meeting. I find it curious just how developer-driven this whole thing has been, given that this is a publicly funded project. The developer came to the city with its first proposal in 2008, under circumstances which I don't currently understand, and has been back with new proposals at least 3 times, December 2010, March 2012, and September 2012. The new additions to the proposal as delivered to the council in September included that Arco Murray would itself be the occupant of the offices they proposed to build, that they wanted certain parking areas in the structure reserved for them, that they wanted an option to build a 3rd level of offices, converting parking spaces for that purpose, and that some of the first floor areas would be difficult to rent as retail space and therefore should be converted to office storage. And then they told the city how much they would pay to purchase the office space, a deal which, if eventually accepted by our elected officials, would carry on the fine Elmhurst tradition of buying high and selling low when public money is involved. In the recordings, we hear 3 aldermen speak directly in favor of the 6-story building, and that includes 2 of the 3 mayoral candidates. One said that the whole block should be 6 stories, and the other implied that a 2-block inner ring of downtown should be that tall as well. I don't think that these ideas came out of the blue. Although the city's downtown plan calls for the continued predominance of 2 to 4-story buildings, I have the impression that the notion that large areas should be built up higher than that has been around for quite a while, probably including during the initial talks for this development back in 2008. In 2011, there were efforts to amend the zoning code to allow 6 stories without question in the downtown, efforts which failed due to procedural matters. In any case, I think it's fair to say we have a number of elected officials who are predisposed to go along with a proposal for a 6-story building before hearing a single word from the public. It seems like the main objective for the developer in the September meetings was to get some assurance that proceeding to the zoning process wouldn't be a waste of time or resources. And by a consensus decision, the council gave them that assurance, while maintaining plausible deniability in their claim that no decisions have been made. Technically, that's true since the ceremonial public vote has yet to be taken. But the council has instructed city staff to, quote, negotiate a deal, end quote, with the developer, starting with a framework that the developer specified. When does a public part of this process happen? And I wonder if any sort of legitimate public process is even possible at this point. No matter how things go from here, I'm afraid we're going to end up with a real steal for the developer and a raw deal for the taxpayers.
Thank you.
Last, we have Terry Pastica, 182 North York Road.
Good evening. Hope you all had a nice St. Patrick's Day. My name is Terry Pastica. I'm Executive Director of Citizen Advocacy Center. Mayor, I wanted to thank you for making sure that the tapes were released in an expedited manner, like requested by the public. So thank you very much for that happening, and I'd like to continue the discussion on this project. I too listened to the tapes, and I just want to open up with a comment made by Alderman Bram during executive session that says, in regards to this discussion and utilizing executive sessions for this discussion, it seems like if we agree upon the financials, we're essentially agreeing upon the numbers of the stories and therefore the zoning variations that would be needed. So I just want to say, for the record, just state that I'm against having these discussions in executive session because they're so intertwined, and I don't think we can separate the two, the financials from the zoning, even though we can speak like we are. I think we're pretty much saying if we agree upon the financial numbers, we're agreeing upon the zoning variations, so it's a closed case. And further along in the conversation, the attorney said, you're just looking for feedback from the council. Should staff go back and begin negotiations? Alderman Bram responded by saying, why hasn't this process already started? I understand the perspective, but I still believe that we're doing this part first. It's an assumption that the zoning piece is a done deal because those numbers are tied to each other. We're saying X amount of dollars for the many flights of stories or floors. Essentially, we're saying what the majority of the council would like to see. I've never seen it done this way before, where we're talking in executive sessions from a financial perspective per square foot, and then doing the zoning aspect afterwards. The zoning aspect should be going, at the very least, in parallel, if not before this, in my opinion. So, regardless of whether you think the AG's opinion was appropriate or not, the question that I have for the council is, do the majority of you think that there are issues with this project related to the size discussion, the financials, and the process? And I'd really like to hear feedback from that, on that question from a majority of you, because if you don't believe that there's a problem related to those three things, then that affects a whole litany of other conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes public forum as far as who signed in tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Is there anyone else that wanted to speak that did not have an opportunity to sign in? All right, thank you. That will conclude public forum. Item 6, announcements. Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have been informed that recycling garbage cans have started to be delivered to some neighborhoods in Elmhurst, and I wanted to remind people that they may start using them as soon as they're delivered. We'd like everyone to be using the new trash cans by May 1st. You may keep your old blue City of Elmhurst recycling trash can if you wish. If you prefer, you may recycle them by bringing them to one of 3 locations. There are dumpsters set up in Barron's Park, at City Hall, and at York Commons. So you may bring your old recycling cans to Barron's Park, York Commons, or City Hall for recycling. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just was going to say exactly what Alderman Gutenkopf just said, so thank you very much.
So we have it on good word from 2 aldermen. Clerk Spencer.
Well, here I am again, as I promised. Early voting starts Monday, March 25th, and runs through Friday, April 5th, for our April 9th consolidated election. That's Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30. And if you cannot vote at City Hall, early voting is at several DuPage County locations, and to find out where they are, you can get on the city website or the DuPage County Election Commission website. Thank you.
Thank you. Other announcements? All right, very good. We're on to our consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any alderman would like to remove? Alderman Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Items F and items R.
F, I, and R?
F and R.
F and R, thank you. Anything else? All right. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, less items F and R? Alderman Braham, second by Alderman Gutenkopf. Clerk Spencer?
Okay. Braham.
Aye.
Gutenkopf. Aye. Leader. Dunn, absent. Palumski.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ipskin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Wagner. Mulliner.
Aye.
Pezza. Aye. 13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
All right, the consent agenda passes. All right. We'll move to item F. And Clerk Spencer, if you'll read the...
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Works and Buildings Committee that the bid from Girardi Sewer and Water Company in the amount of $136,220 be accepted, and the city attorney be authorized to draft a resolution for approving a contract with Girardi Sewer and Water Company. Respectfully submitted, Public Works and Buildings Committee, signed by Jim Kennedy, Chairman, Bob Dunn, Vice Chairman, Chris Healy, and Diane Gutenkopf.
Thank you. Alderman Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason I pulled this item was simply the fact that we're looking at both the report in item F and then the ordinance in item R. So in order to do both of those things in one night, we need to suspend the rules to do that. So we could, am I correct?
Yes, we need a motion to do that.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules, please.
Motion to suspend with a second by Alderman Gutenkopf. Any discussion on the motion to suspend? Yeah, as City Attorney Serino points out, it's really with
Respect to
the ordinance.
resolution.
Okay.
The resolution?
I remain.
Yeah, and it's
Stand
fine. We can do it
corrected,
now and just get it out of the way for when we go on to the resolution.
Okay.
And we need a voice, just a voice vote.
All right. Any discussion on suspension of the rules? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, back to you, Alderman Kennedy.
So I have no further comment about the bid and our selection of the contractor for that work.
No one moved or seconded.
Motion for that. Yeah, we just need a
motion.
motion.
We need a motion then to approve
Motion to approve, please.
the ordinance. All right, and a second by Alderman Gutenkopf. Any discussion on the motion?
All right.
All right,
To approve the report?
this is on the report.
On the report.
On the report only at this time, and we'll do this by a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that takes care of item F passes. Item R, if you would read the resolution, Clerk Spencer.
A resolution authorizing the issuance of a notice of award for the 2013 fire hydrant and water main valve repair program in the city of Elmhurst, Illinois.
All right, and a motion. Alderman Kennedy, second Alderman Gutenkopf. Alderman Kennedy?
I think we ought to do it.
All right. Any discussion on this ordinance? There being none, we'll proceed with the roll call. Clerk Spencer?
Kennedy.
Aye.
Gutenkopf. Aye. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn, absent. Braham.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
All right, the ordinance passes. Item 8, reports and recommendations of appointed and elected officials. For myself, I just have 2 things to report on. I've met with city staff and a proposed restaurant downtown, the Snuggery. Actually, it's where I don't know which restaurant to refer to, Embers, Charlie's, McNally's, how far back you want to go, and it looks like they're ready to move forward, which is a nice sign to get a business moving in there right away. I also wanted to report that Assistant City Manager Kopp and I and City Manager Grabowski have had some discussions with officials over at the school district, and I think it's on their agenda. The intergovernmental agreement related to the North TIF is on their agenda, I think, for this week, and assuming that it goes through there, we would expect to see it on our agenda next week. Those are the 2 reports I have. City Manager.
I just have a reminder of everyone for the board docs training this Thursday at 6 o'clock at the library. We'll be posting an agenda just to be on the safe side, and we'll get that out to everybody as soon as possible.
Very good. Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to report on a report that we just actually approved through the consent agenda today, being item H, which was the title is Installation of New Public Sidewalks on Howard Avenue. Essentially, it's the first step of the approval for the SSA for sidewalks on Howard Avenue, which is in the 3rd Ward. This is a long time coming. They have been in the wings for a few years since the city as a whole suspended funding for new sidewalks over the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. So I know a lot of the residents on that block are excited to see this move forward, and it will be an overall public benefit, not only for that street, but hopefully for more streets to come. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bram. All right. On to other business. Is there any other business that anyone wants to bring before the council? Alderman Gutenkopf.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm requesting from the Finance and Council Affairs Committee an update on the disclosure ordinance that's been on their agenda for some time. It hasn't come out of committee.
Alderman York, do you have a report? Or Alderman Hipskin, there you are. Didn't see you.
I'll give you an update I'll give the council an update at the next meeting on where that's at.
Thank you.
All right. Alderman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to mention that over the past week, I've received several inquiries as to why so many zoning issues that are important to the community have been pushed off with basically no possibility of coming to vote until after April 9th.
I'm sorry, after?
April 9th. The Addison LLZ project, the public hearing, postponed until April 11th. No possibility of a vote on that project before April 9th. The chicken issue. People that want the chickens keep asking, why has that not been on the zoning agenda? No possibility that gets voted on until after April 9th. The electronic sign issue. There's a discussion going on. People want to know, no possibility of voting on that until after April 9th. And I also thought we were going to be voting on the reappointment of Mr. Brinkmeyer this evening for the Zoning Commission. I'm not sure why that wasn't on there, and I'm hoping that's not waiting until after April 9th.
Well, I think I can respond on some of them. The Addison LLC was a continuance at the request of the applicant, and it would have been capricious for us to say that the applicant is not allowed to have a continuance, and that's not before us, that's before the Zoning Commission. So when we say zoning, it's not before the City Council. It really has nothing to do with our processes, but I am aware that they did submit a request for a continuance. That was not the city's request. It was not the Zoning Commission's request. The chicken issue, I think, is, I think that's still before the Zoning Committee. I don't know that there's any reason why it would or wouldn't go, but it's no directive from the city. I think it's public safety as well, so it's before those two committees. The electronic sign issue, there's nothing actually even pending. There were public hearings. It's not a request for any kind of zoning change. It's to gather input, and my understanding is that they had one night where public discussion was had in front of the zoning commission. Again, it's not our item. I believe March 8th was set as the deadline for the public to submit additional public comment to the zoning commission, and it's not really before us, but I assume they're doing that in due course. The Brinkmeyer appointment is my appointment. I don't think Mr. Brinkmeyer has any, there are some issues that I needed to discuss, and I think Mr. Brinkmeyer is in accord that was to be pulled tonight with his consent. I could say generally to all four issues, there is nothing that, I don't see any need to put off anything beyond the election. Anything that is ready to be acted on by our city council, I'm happy to put on the agenda and to move it forward. So that's the situation. I'll only comment additionally on the Addison LLC. I do feel that no matter which way we go, we will stand for criticism. My original desire was to put on a committee of the whole, or at least somewhat educational for myself, for all the aldermen, the public as well, to discuss where the project started, what's happened to it, where it's going to go. And there were those that felt that by doing so, I might be interfering with the zoning commission's process. And so I was convinced that we should wait till after the zoning commission process was over. So whichever way you go, some will feel it should go the other way. That was the decision that was made. I can assure you that as soon as the zoning process is completed, I, and I think many aldermen, would like to have a full airing of the Addison Street project so that we can all start from a common base of knowledge as to where it started, where we are, and how we get that project done. Any other questions or other business? Alderman Morley.
Just want to add a little bit of texture to the electronic sign situation.
Not the chickens?
Not the chickens, but I'd be happy to opine on that as well. As it relates to electronic signs, as you're fully aware, Mr. Mayor, there was an issue identified in our code, and we asked for a written opinion from our city attorney. We received that written opinion. And the fact of the matter is that our committee as a whole believes that the electronic sign ordinance that we do have is actually quite old. It's about, I'm going to say, around 20 years old. And we had a discussion at our committee as to what was the best way to revamp that. Because quite frankly, I think everybody realizes that technology almost every 6 months changes. And our sign code right now still calls for amber signs, if you can believe that. So after discussion with the committee, we felt the best thing to do would be to go to the public and get their input first, and we actually split the job into two pieces. One is commercial, and it's currently being evaluated by the EEDC, the Elmhurst Economic Development Commission, and then the other part is the public side for the residential issues that might be faced with electronic signs. And as you mentioned, there was one public hearing so far. It's my understanding there's actually going to be another one. So that's where the electronic sign situation is. And as far as chickens, our committee decided to wait for a decision out of Public Affairs and Safety before we went down that road to make sure that whatever was being considered was appropriate from their aspect.
Thank you. Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to tag along on Alderman Morley's comment, and maybe Chairman Wagner could speak to it as well. I am not aware of any discussions on our pending items list for the chicken issue. It was referred from the consent agenda to DP&Z only. I know there was discussions after it was referred to DP&Z only about including PA&S, but at this point, it is my personal opinion that I don't know if we, as a council in my tenure of 12 years, have ever had two separate discussions in two separate committees on the same topic and then tried to come together with one referral or one recommendation. So I just want to put out there in the public, as well as to everybody here tonight, that I am not aware, and I have recently seen the pending items list, of the issue being on the PANS pending items list, and I don't even know, even if it was, how that would be coordinated when you have two separate discussions to come back to the full city council with one recommendation. It almost seems impossible to me.
Well, I do believe, actually, Cool Cities was one such topic many years ago that was referred to two different committees, and I suppose the committee could have a joint committee meeting?
It was a joint committee. This discussion has already occurred in DP&Z, and there has been no discussion or no talks of having a joint committee. I think at this point, since the train has left the station per se, I don't know how you could have a joint committee discussion when one committee's already had a substantial debate on the topic.
Well, I would suggest that after public safety weighs in, we'll see if they reach the same conclusion, then that would seem to be decisive. If they don't, then we will have to either meet with the chairman or have the committees meet together. But Alderman Pez's concern that it was being held back, I can just assure you that whatever committee reports are ready to come before the council, we're ready to act on them, irrespective of the election. Okay, any other business? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Alderman Gudenkauf, second by Alderman Kennedy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Adjourned.